From 5k to 24k in the last 2 game weeks. I've not been doing well recently, but this is where the comeback starts. Welcome back, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. Now into the results of my wildcard. I didn't do too well, but that's not all my fault, right? Bowen, one of the biggest threats to my rank, 80% effective ownership, got 2 assists and a double-digit haul, you know. And my differential from West Ham Somerville blanked. He got no points. If it was the other way around, then I would have got a green arrow, you know, Bowen blanked and Somerville got 10 points. And I know it's all, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but Somerville had more expected assists than Jarrod Bowen, yet he got no assists and Jarrod Bowen got 2. I think it's unfair. I could claim I got unlucky, but at the end of the day, when I'm gambling on West Ham attackers scoring from, you know, some Somerville assists, I'm obviously going to end up failing because the West Ham strikers aren't that good. Well, they are when Bowen's passing to them, but when anyone else passes, they are terrible. The later end of the game week is where it actually kind of saved me and made my red arrow kind of smaller, with the triple Arsenal defence paying off. Even though they didn't really deserve a clean sheet, I do feel like I kind of deserved some luck towards the end. And Bruno Fernandes obviously returned for me again as my captain. It was a small return, but it was good enough. You know, it got me some extra points, pushed my rank a little bit higher. But on the whole, I'm still not very happy with how it went. But then again, it could have gone a lot worse, but at the same time, it definitely could have gone a lot better. So we'll just have to take it as it is and go into the next game week staying optimistic. Even though I may be delusional, I still believe I'm going to make a huge comeback. I do want to say as well, like on a wildcard, you expect to do well because, you know, you've just changed your entire team. You should get loads of points. But I think roughly 75% of people at my rank use the free hit. So to think I could come away with a green arrow was kind of silly in the first place. I am sort of making excuses here, but I feel like it's a valid excuse when everyone around me used their free hit. Thankfully, I now have a team that is primed and ready to get loads of points, whereas those who use their wildcard in game week 32 and bench boost in 33, then free hit in game week 34 may struggle. They won't struggle as such, but I think my team looks a little better than theirs, and I'm hoping that, paired with my bench boost in game week 36, can get me back to the top 5k. Going into the team selection, we're making one transfer and saving the other for game week 36. In the defence, we're keeping it the same though, but we are making a slight change. I don't want to triple up on the Arsenal defence. Putting all my eggs in one basket was fine last game week and it worked. But going into this game week, despite having an easier game, I'm not sure if I want to go there. Seeing how they didn't really deserve a clean sheet against Newcastle, and they got outplayed by Atletico Madrid, who by the way, would probably be between 6th and 12th place if they played in the Premier League. And that's no disrespect to Atletico, but they are below Villarreal in La Liga, so they're not really a spectacular team right now. You'd expect Arsenal to be a lot stronger against them. So even though I still do believe they'll keep a clean sheet, I'm not so confident to play all 3 of my Arsenal defenders, especially when I've got O'Reilly and Mukiel playing 2 good fixtures. There's no way I want to bench these guys either. So Saliba is taking the hit. He's going to my bench. He could get some points, but that's just something I'll have to deal with. At the end of the day, it's just too much of a risk to bench Mukiel and /or O'Reilly to play a triple Arsenal defence that could concede to Fulham. And Mukiel did just get a 0 pointer. He lost 5-0 to Forest. Now, that doesn't make any sense to me. The Sunderland defence has been good. The Forest attack hasn't been good. But they scored 5 goals against Sunderland. I'm hoping when they play against Wolves, it's a different story. And I do believe Sunderland is still a fairly solid defence. And Mukiel is still a great player to own. Hopefully I'm right about that because I can't have him getting another 0 pointer. Going into the midfield, this is where we're making a transfer. First off, we're benching Wilson away to Arsenal. I don't want to sell him because his last 3 fixtures are so damn good. So what we're going to do is sell Somerville. And I don't think anyone is surprised about that. The West Ham fixtures aren't all that great. So we're going to sell Somerville and bring in a midfielder who is reliable for minutes, decent for defcons, decent attacking potential, who has arguably the easiest fixture run in the league in Anton Stark. Now, he doesn't play advanced as the likes of Aronson or Okafor, but he is much more reliable for minutes. And like I said, he can also get defcons. So I believe he is the lead midfielder to carry me through the last 4 game weeks of the season. Hopefully I'm not wrong. And my other 3 midfielders also look so strong this game week. Bruno Fernandes is going to be my captain. Captaincy is very up in the air this week. It's been fairly straightforward most game weeks this season. But this game week, Haaland versus Bruno versus Watkins versus Gabriel versus Thiago is very close. So the captain you pick is actually so important. I believe most people will go with Haaland, but with Bruno being really good at set pieces and getting assists, and Liverpool being quite bad at defending the set pieces this season, I believe Bruno can exploit that. And while the Liverpool defence across the entire season is quite strong, In the last 8 game weeks, it's been quite average, you know, fairly mid-table. Now, Ryan Shirky is a big risk I took. I chose him over Semenyo, which could backfire. Like, Semenyo is so high owned, but I do believe Shirky is a better option. Now, this could be recency bias, but with Shirky getting reliable minutes recently and having better underlying data and, you know, creating everything for Man City, I believe he could outscore Semenyo and be a huge differential, because with everyone already having 3 City players, they're not going to be in a position to move to Ryan Shirky, which is a huge advantage for me, as long as Shirky can actually get the points and Semenyo can keep blanking, which is what he's been doing recently. But I'm not going to hold out too much hope for it, because Semenyo blanking does seem quite unlikely. But I do believe Shirky will outscore him, which is why I've picked him, and I'm really hoping that happens, because if not, then I'll probably get an even bigger red arrow than I did last game week, which is not okay. The final midfielder in this team is Rodgers, playing home to Tottenham. Now, Rodgers is a weird one. He is a bit of a troll. Well, I don't think he's a troll. I think when he scores, you know, loads of goals, like I think he scored 4 goals in 2 game weeks, like I didn't want him at all, because it was very low XG and his fixtures were tough. I knew he wouldn't continue, and he didn't. He blanked for a long while after that. But I believe this time it's different. With the next few fixtures looking really good, and Rodgers having pretty good underlying creative potential, I believe he can pick me up some assists, and maybe if he wants to score another worldie from outside the box, you know, against the Spurs keeper, that's not unrealistic. I won't mind, you know, please be my guest. So while a lot of people have mixed opinions on Rodgers, I do believe for his price he is really good, especially with home to Tottenham and away to Burnley in the next 2 game weeks. It's hard to go without it, man. I'm happy I put him on my wild card. Despite him blanking away to Fulham, I wasn't completely shocked by it. Like, away to Fulham isn't easy, and I do believe in an easier game like home to Tottenham, he can thrive. One more thing to note though, I'm recording this and uploading this before Aston Villa play on Thursday. If Aston Villa do play, and one of my Aston Villa players gets injured, because I also have Watkins in the front 3, then I'll just start Saliba over whoever gets injured. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but I do have good bench cover, which I'm thankful for. You know, the worst thing is, like, when you record a video, you talk about players you're going to start and how they're going to do really well, then they get injured the next day. It's the worst thing in the world. So hopefully they don't get injured, but if one of them does, you know, I'll be okay. I've got some sort of bench cover. So then we go into Watkins in the front 3, another Aston Villa player. Now, he did blank away to Fulham as well as Rodgers, but that isn't a huge surprise. Like, I know I brought him in and I wanted him to return, but I didn't really expect it. I brought him in for fixtures like this, for fixtures like in game week 36 when he plays away to Burnley. Watkins is one of those players that will score for you in the easy fixtures, maybe not guaranteed, but in the hard ones, he's unlikely to get a return. And that's okay. You don't, you know, make every transfer just planning for the next 1 game week. You plan for the future, you plan for the long term, and I believe Ollie Watkins will be very good for the next 3 game weeks, especially in this one playing home to Tottenham, who, even though they won last game week, it was against Wolves. You know, it's not exactly an achievement, and even then, they didn't play well. It could have very easily been a draw. So hopefully, Watkins can also, like Morgan Rodgers, exploit Spurs and get me some points. If both of these guys return, I will be in, you know, green arrow territory. It will be very hard for me to get a red arrow. So hopefully Tottenham play awful like they have been the last 10 weeks. Then we go on to Brobby, who plays away to Wolves, a really good fixture against the worst team in the league. Well, probably second worst behind Burnley, but either way, they're both as bad as each other at the end of the day. Both very championship level clubs. Now, Brobby plays for Sunderland, like Mukiel, and obviously they got battered 5-0 against Forest, which I did not expect. I've already been through this. But hopefully, in an easier fixture, he can do well. Brobby, he's got the underlying data. It's good. He's getting the big chances, and normally he converts them. Like, the entire time he's been playing this season, he has been the player to convert big chances. Recently, like, he has scored, like, in recent games, but not as much as he maybe should have, which, you know, doesn't fill me with confidence. But at the end of the day, the only other striker I would rather own at this point is probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin, home to Burnley. But switching to Calvert-Lewin, even though it is great, you know, short term, I'd want to make a different transfer in game week 36 when I use my bench boost. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to keep Brobby, because Brobby, away to Wolves, is nearly as good as Calvert-Lewin home to Burnley. It would seem like, you know, a sideways transfer going from Brobby to Calvert-Lewin this week. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep my faith in Brobby. Hopefully, you know, he comes in clutch, because I'm pretty sure at my rank, almost no one owns him. Then we have Haaland to finish off the front 3. But I don't think Haaland will be helping my rank. I think his effective ownership is going to be very high due to a lot of people having him as their captain, meaning he will harm my rank significantly. It's not like he's going to harm it slightly. He will decimate my rank if he does well, because I believe a lot of people will have him as their captain. So even though Haaland is in my team, I am praying to God that he does not get any goals or any assists. You know, I'm looking at Nico O'Reilly and Ryan Cherky. Every time I see a Man City goal notification on my phone, I am praying I don't see Semenyo and Haaland, because if those names show up, I will be completely ruined. And that's not good, because Haaland and Semenyo are two very good players, two of the highest scoring players in FPL this season. But I'm hoping just for this week or the last 4 weeks, guys, please don't get so many points. Just take your foot off the gas a bit, you know. You don't need to score. Let your teammates thrive instead. You've already done enough. Looking at the odds for game week 35, there's not a whole lot here that surprises me. Arsenal topping the clean sheet odds does not surprise me, but 44% is low for their standards when they're playing home to Fulham. But it hasn't dropped without reason, because their form has been pretty bad, like I mentioned earlier. Doesn't change the fact they're doing really well to, you know, make their opponents generate very low expected goals, not get a lot of big chances. But all it takes is one mistake when you're inviting that much pressure to concede a goal. Leeds obviously have a great matchup here, even though they're very low down in the table. They're not in the relegation battle anymore, but they are in like the bottom 5, bottom 6. They don't have a great position in the table, but they are playing home to what is one of the worst teams the Premier League has seen in the last 5 or 10 years, in my opinion. Like, their defence is terrible, and the odds back that, you know. The clean sheet odds are nearly as high as Arsenal's, which is very rare for Leeds. They don't normally reach those numbers. And even the goal odds, they're close to Manchester City. Leeds are very close to topping the projected goals and the expected clean sheets, which is not something you expect from Leeds. It's just a testament to how bad their opponents are. Now, me going into this game week without a Leeds defender and without Calvert-Lewin or more of an attacking Leeds midfielder, all I've got is Anton Stark. That is quite scary for me, because I feel like a lot of people will own those types of players and they could do well, but I don't own them. I'm really hoping my other players, like for example, Mukiel and Brobby, they play away to Wolves. The odds aren't as high, like at all, but I don't agree with it so much. I do believe Sunderland do have an okay chance of keeping a clean sheet, and I do believe they could score a few goals, because Wolves are genuinely terrible. Like, they're awful, especially if you look at the last 8 games, they're actually on worse form than Burnley. And the reason I have Mukiel and Brobby instead of Calvert-Lewin and Struijk, for example, is because I used my wildcard in game week 34. I needed to, because my game week 34 team looked terrible, and it meant I needed to go for these Sunderland players instead of these Leeds players. So this game week, what I'm really hoping for is not a bit of luck, but a bit of variance to go my way. I kind of want these Leeds players to not do so well, while my Sunderland players do well against Wolves. That's the idea. I'm not asking for too much, but I do feel like it's going to be tough to actually get that to happen. We'll see how it goes. Now, seeing Chelsea, you know, in 5th for projected goals and 5th for expected clean sheets, it makes me laugh just a little bit. I'm sorry to Chelsea fans, but Chelsea have 5 losses in a row in the Premier League. Fair enough, they've won in the FA Cup, but in the Prem, they've lost 5 games in a row and they've scored no goals in all of those games. So tell me, who on earth is thinking they're going to score 1.86 goals? I don't think it's going to happen, because Forest themselves, they've picked up some momentum. They've scored quite a lot of goals in the last 2 games, whereas Chelsea have done the complete opposite. So we could see a bit of an upset here. I do think the odds have got this one a little bit wrong, but at the end of the day, Chelsea are in general a better team than Forest. It's why they're much higher in the table than Forest are. That's why Forest were in a relegation battle and Chelsea were competing for Europe, or competing for a Champions League spot. They've now sort of met in the middle, where, you know, Chelsea are on the downfall. They're playing terrible. They just sacked their manager. And Forest look like, at the moment, one of the best teams in the league, dare I say it. They're obviously not, but on recent form, it shows they are much stronger than Chelsea. So we'll see how that one goes. Not much else on here I disagree with, really. Seeing Bournemouth quite high isn't great. I know a lot of people own Bournemouth players, so I don't want to see Bournemouth players do too well. But Palace aren't the worst team in the world. Like, they're not special, but I do see them scoring in this game, because the Bournemouth defence, you know, expected goals conceded wise, is actually really bad. Even worse, if you look at the last 8 game weeks, they've been quite fortunate in some games to not concede more. So the 35% chance of a clean sheet, I can't say I agree with that. You know, I believe it's a lot lower, but if they turn up and keep a clean sheet, then fair enough, I was wrong. As for the goal odds, I do believe 1.9 is fair. You know, their attack is strong and Crystal Palace do not look amazing at the moment. So hopefully the likes of Tavernier can just give it a rest and not get any points, because Tavernier is the one guy who could absolutely ruin my rank this game week. There's actually a lot of players who could ruin my rank. I've mentioned like 5 players this video. So I really need all of those players to blank and all of my differentials to return. It's looking scary the more I talk about it. So I'm really hoping it goes my way. If not, I'll need to rely on a hugely successful bench boost in game week 36. Talking about game week 36, you know, we're going to look at the future plans. I mean, it's very similar to what I talked about last time. Obviously, we know what game week 35 is going to look like. We've talked about it. Going into game week 36, we're using the bench boost and we've got 2 free transfers. And I'm going to show you an honest to God bench as well. I'm going to get my bench in the right order. Obviously, double game week 36 is now confirmed, like we all predicted. So Crystal Palace, all of their players are playing twice, and Man City the same for them as well, which is really good because I own 2 Palace players and 3 City players already. Picking the transfers though, it's tough. I'm not going to be able to decide right now. I'm just going off what I think is the best move. Now, looking at a defender, I want to sell Mukiel, and I'm in 2 minds. I'd love to go for Canva for that double game week, but Van Heck also looks really good because Van Heck plays home to Wolves. Brighton right now, they're first for expected goals conceded in the league in the last 8 games, whereas Wolves are like 19th, 20th for expected goals. It's the perfect matchup for a clean sheet, not to mention he's also good for DEFCONs. And picking a Crystal Palace player who has a double game week, yes, it's great. You know, they've got 2 games, but one of those games is away to Man City. If they concede 4 goals, what good is a double game week? So I'm torn in 2 minds right now. Do I go for Van Heck or do I pick another double game week player? Let's say Van Heck for now, alright? That does give me the opportunity to go for another Crystal Palace player, but I can't afford Mateta. And while I can afford Strand Larsen, I don't really want to pick Strand Larsen, so I may not end up going with 3 Crystal Palace players. The other player I want to get rid of is Brobby. His fixtures aren't as good for the rest of the season, and I'd rather have someone else to bench boost in game week 36. Now, there's a couple players I could choose. Annoyingly, I can't choose another double game week player, but that's fine because Palace away to Man City isn't sensational anyway. I want to pick Welbeck for this game. He plays home to Wolves like Van Heck, you know, shock horror, they play for the same team. But Welbeck isn't super nailed for minutes. Like, he probably will start that game, but you can't say that for sure. He got benched when he played against Chelsea because there's other good options in that Brighton attack. He did start in game week 34, fair play to him, he could start again. I'm going to wait to see what happens in game week 35. I feel like if he starts in game week 35 and has a good game, you know, does well, then I'll be optimistic. I'll be hopeful that he's going to do well in game week 36 and that he's going to start and I'll bring him in. But if I'm not, the other options, they're quite bad. Like Forest look good at the moment. If they have another good game, I could go to Igor Jesus, who looks really strong at the moment. Fulham have a decent game. Home to Bournemouth is good for an attacker because their defence isn't too strong. But the minutes for strikers is up in the air. Raul Jimenez or Munoz, who's going to start? And if they do start, are they going to play more than 50 minutes? Probably not. So yeah, I'm once again in that position where I don't really know who to choose. If Strand Larsen starts in game week 35, I may be tempted to go there. Maybe, just for that home to Everton game. Because away to City, he's only going to get 2 points. But that extra 2 points, guaranteed, could be quite good. Either way, I'm currently leaning towards Welbeck. There are multiple options I could go for. Hopefully it's clearer when we actually get to game week 36, so I know what to choose because I hate not knowing what to do. Normally I've got a clear ironed out plan that has adjustments, you know, it can change. But with this one, it's kind of either Welbeck or a bad option, or maybe even keeping Brobby, but I don't want to do that. You know, that's something I'm not thinking of right now, but you never know. My mind could change if he does really well in game week 35. Then going into game week 37, you know, you're sort of at the end of the season now. You can take short-term punts, and my team looks good. Like triple Arsenal defense home to Burnley is amazing, and I've got a lot of other players with really good fixtures. I'll probably sell Morgan Rogers, and I want to bring in someone like, well, 2 players that, you know, speak out to me a lot as differentials. Ndai home to Sunderland looks really strong, but Everton going forward right now aren't the best. And there's also Fulham attackers because Fulham have a good last 2 game weeks. I could pick someone like Iwobi or someone else who's getting reliable minutes in the attack. So let's say Iwobi is in the team right now, right? Let's say we bring in Iwobi. Very possible option, but once again could change. I like it though, it's not too bad. It'd be a tough decision between benching Welbeck and Watkins, but that's not a bridge I need to cross right now. So we'll ignore that. And if the time comes where we need to deal with that, we will deal with it. Then going into game week 38, once again, don't want to think too far in advance. Triple Arsenal defence, away to Palace isn't great. But if Arsenal have a must-win game to win the league, then I'd probably expect them to, you know, try a little harder and actually keep a clean sheet. But then again, they could also be feeling the pressure. And yeah, just sell Watkins for a striker that's got a good game week 38. There's plenty of options. I'll decide when it comes to it. But yeah, the plans to see out the rest of the season, my team looks really strong the whole way through. I just need to hope, because I'm going quite differential, that those template plays I've not backed all blank. Very unlikely, but as long as my differentials can outscore them, which I think could happen, I should hopefully have a good end to my season. Once again, only time will tell what actually happens. Hopefully, my team does well. Anyway, guys, that is it from me. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you made it this far, you are greatly appreciated, and I will see you all in the next video.